their computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
All right, good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are having yourselves a fantastic Monday AM. Happy March 18th. Does feel like, I mean, for myself, I'll say personally, once the times change or once the clock changes over to be a little bit sunnier or a little bit longer sunlight, I'm like the world's happiest person. So I'm really optimistic here, feeling good, loving the way the market is shaping up for us here going into FOMC. And we've got a lot of potential opportunities here this week. We've got some pretty clear narratives that we'd like to see a resolution from. And so I think that sets us up really nicely here for some good continuation. Obviously, right, we saw some pretty awesome news here over the weekend from a bunch of members, right? We saw a few traders get funded. Andy or Frank, if you're in here, congratulations, right? You guys got funded as well, 200 and 250K with Lark. So really well done, guys. Congratulations. Let's keep seeing some of that incredible progress. And yeah, guys, let's kind of build it out from here. So this morning, right, let's start mapping things out here and kind of figure out what we want to do and then sort of go from there. So good morning, Suresh, Mike, Topher, Dayon, Gary, Gabe, Craig, Jason. Hey, man, good to see you. John, Steven, Jose, Jay, Brian, and Solstein. Hope you guys are all doing well here this AM. And yeah, guys, let's get after it here and start mapping out our trading session. So first things first, right? Economic calendar here today has got to be our priority. Not a huge economic calendar here until Wednesday, right? So we've got home builder confidence here at 10. I wouldn't say that's a huge market moving event for me. And then we got housing starts and building permits tomorrow. But really the main narrative here that we're going to have to be aware of, right, is FOMC on Wednesday. So hopefully, right, we can get a little bit of some positioning here. Yeah, Apple and Google both, right? They have a little bit of a news narrative. So we'll be probably more focusing. We'll talk about that here in a sec. But essentially across the board, right, we want to see a resolution a little bit of some of this consolidation, right? So indexes, for example, it kind of seems like they've been stuck a little bit since that, say, Friday roll started. And we'd like to see either a breakout above, right, or a clear breakout under from that narrative. Now today, got 1 for 3 here to the downside, right? Bounce off that trend line. And we seem to be getting a pretty strong gap up here this morning where bulls could definitely be in control. And I would say that we should have a little bit of a bias to the upside here, right? Or for a breakout to the upside off of that trend line bounce. But we don't really have a clear indication of trending price action here yet, right? So we'd like to see that occur, right? It's either a trend line bounce. And if you're going to say that that's really the narrative, you probably then want to see a breakout above these highs. So this looks a little bit like consolidation going into a news event. Doesn't mean that we can't get action here today, but I do want to be a little bit patient, right? And then worth noting, right, here today, it says ESM 2024, right? On the, if you just type in ES, right, you go ES1 exclamation mark, right? That's going to be the forward contract, right? Or the most recent one. Last week, you would have seen a couple times where it would have been bouncing between the March and the June. Well, today, right, you have ESM, right? M is for June in this context. So you'll have a very good indication. You won't have to pick the specific contract to look at. All right, QQQ here, massive gap up, 2 out of 3 with volume, right, to the downside here. But that looks a little bit suspicious, right? If bears were actually so strong there yesterday or on Friday, why weren't they able to break down further, right? And then contextually, what also occurred on Friday that maybe would explain that incredible volume standard? Hey, Rusty, how's it going? Yeah, OPEX, exactly, right? So probably not expecting to get bigger volume than what we saw then, right? So realistically, we're unlikely to get a profile that's bigger than that. So if we're gonna say then that maybe that's a bit of a failed breakout, it's a bounce off of a lower trend line, and then we're opening up in the middle of a patterns range, we're maybe being told that this is more consolidation than trending price action, and we'd like to see a cleaner resolution prior to forcing any decisions here. So no real bear case for me, no real bull case for me. I think ultimately this is going to set up better for us here today. Either get that index breakout short term, where we have a nice little range to play with, maybe a positioning trade, or excuse me, we focus on the leading names, right, that maybe have news narratives that can push them outside of their consolidation ranges. The most likely outcome, in my opinion, or sort of what I would imagine here, is that we don't get a clear resolution of a trend prior to FOMC. That's the one opportunity where we have some potential, right, to create a personality shift in the market. Not a huge belief that it's going to change anything here. So I don't think they're going to cut any rates, but there's always that hesitation or concern, right, that maybe they're going to change the language, right, around how they're talking about future hikes or cuts, right? Now, the expectation is that there's going to be like a 60% chance of a cut in June, something along those lines. And so we want to see if that changes the base expectation, or if we basically push it out, or make it more likely we see short-term kind of bearishness, right? I still think, my belief at least, right, is that we don't see a personality shift in the market until we get that hike to occur, or until it happens. But let's cross that bridge when we get to it. I just think that that's the most likely trend creating event here this week. And if we're now in the middle of price action, right, or in the middle of consolidation, or in the middle of a quote unquote pattern, then maybe that could be the catalyst that then creates the trending trigger. All right, Apple. So second most bullish, right? Increasing outlier volume, gap up. We've been talking about swings here for a while. Those are looking awesome here, right? And we're looking for that trend line breakout here this morning. There's a news narrative on Apple here too, right? And that's going to be that they're possibly integrating with Google to provide AI capabilities, right, on their Apple devices for future generations. And so both of those names are going to be a little bit of a tandem play for us here this morning. And also, right, two relative laggards compared to, say, like a Tesla and Microsoft that we've seen here recently. So if we want to maybe argue that the market is giving us a stealth rotation, it wouldn't be too surprising to see Microsoft and like a Meta, right, catch their breath, or Microsoft and Nvidia catch their breath, while an Apple and Google and maybe even a Tesla start to find bottoms and push back up higher. Definitely think there's a lot of optimism to be had here on Apple. I love this. Again, I want to keep stressing, right, I have quite the bias here because I've been swing trading this, right, since that sort of 170 bounce. And I think this has got a lot of upside here. So there definitely do have blinders, right, to a certain extent. I'm not really interested in a bearish scenario here. I'm more looking for a bull case or bust. And this is a nice news narrative that looks like it could be cooperating, right, with that story. Now, fundamentally, right, on this 3 for 3, I'd like to see a breakout occur on a continuation narrative here as quickly as possible, right? Above that 175 would be ideal, because I want to see a clear breakout essentially above that upper trend line, right? That's the spot where we've gotten stuck. So I'd like to see us get unstuck basically sooner rather than later. If this news narrative could be enough to push me over, then I definitely think I've got a really good play here and good positioning for a move maybe up towards sort of that 180 barrier. But starting point here this morning, let's see a breakout above 175. Give me some good oomph, give me a little bit of separation, and then we've got buck along the, buck along the way. Is that the right way to phrase it? All the way towards room a buck away, or buck at a time. There we go. Finding room $1 at a time up towards that 180 shelf. It's Monday for me too here, guys. Apologies. Yesterday was St. Patrick's Day. So it is what it is. If we can get a nice breakout here, give me big vol. Let's see if we can take advantage of this oomph. So add it to the watch list, right? I would say this looks really, really optimistic. Make sense? Guys, I'm going to be putting the plus and minuses, like directional bias, over names that we have like setups for. So in the watch list, right, ES plus will be, we're looking for breakout setups, right? Apple plus, looking for breakout setups or bullish scenarios. If I would do, say, Apple minus, right, then that would say I'm looking for Apple scenarios to the downside. Make sense? Okay, inside bar, decreasing volume, big gap up. If we're going to be interested in this Tesla, right, we need to see an inside bar breakout here, and it needs to occur on bigger volume than ideally what we saw on Thursday, but minimally what we saw bigger than Friday. Again, this maybe is a little bit of a relief bounce scenario here, and you're looking for a breakout above that 172. So 172, right? What does an inside bar tell us? Yeah, exactly, right? Tells us consolidation. So we just want to make sure that we get a formal breakout from it, right? In theory, it could also be, hey, we cracked a shelf, right? Break down to the downside and a maybe continuation here to the downside, right? Where it's like a fake out higher and then breakdown. Although I don't have very many reasons to be particularly bearish, that could be the setup that occurs right on Tesla. So for me to overcome that potential anxiety, I think I still probably need to this Thursday shelf, right? Like that's the thing that's the anxiety inducer. So let's overwhelm that standard. Looks good, but let's be a little bit cautious still. Okay, Microsoft 3 for 3 here to the downside, right? That stealth rotation theory a little bit in play here, right? We're seeing strength in Apple and weakness in Microsoft. So maybe now we can see Apple catch back up, and that could be the sort of catalyst to drag indexes higher here as well, right? Microsoft is the second biggest weighting, I think, on the index level. And Apple is the biggest. So, you know, we could essentially get that same narrative, right, that we've seen here to a certain extent. Microsoft, though, I'm going to say I'm probably going to pass from this. I have less reasons to be super aggressively interested in this scenario. I guess look for dip buys here, but I've got enough breakout scenarios that if I get bullish breakouts or bullish momentum, there's easier risk reward plays than this. Okay, Meta 2 for 3 here to the downside. I've got a nice little trend line here now. Right, 4 points of contact. Tuesday the 13th, right? Wednesday the 21st. Monday the 11th, and then Friday the 15th. Those are your 4 points of contact on that daily time frame for your bottom trend line. Almost a little bit of a similar narrative, right, to what you're getting on the index level. Like you kind of have that trend line bounce here, but it's a little bit maybe easier. All right, maybe a little bit. Sorry, I just want to get the active contract here. So maybe a little bit easier, right, for an ES to get a breakout up and over. Whereas on Meta, right, we've got a little bit more resistance above us prior to us making those new higher highs. So ultimately here, again, I think this is probably a little bit more of one to watch versus trade, where the news narrative seems to be away from this, and this could require like a little bit of a bigger catalyst, right, to finally give us that pop. an Apple and a Google and a Tesla here this morning have less of those pressures, because it does seem like that money is flowing in. And if it is, it'll be very obvious, right, that we see, it would be very obvious when we see big inflows, essentially, of volume showing up here at market open. So we'll know that those are essentially the names to focus on here this AM, if those volume profiles can essentially confirm that roll theory. If they do, yeah, we're going to have some joy in those names, and we'll be able to ignore a few of these tickers that we've been maybe focusing on a little bit more here recently. So Meta, we'll watch it here this morning. Amazon, same thing, right? Big gap up, but still opening up in the middle of yesterday's or Friday's high volume range. Most likely outcome here is consolidation. Maybe a little bit of a channel here setting up, but we'd like to get a breakout up and over. Has not occurred yet. Okay, AMD. All right, finding a little bit of a maybe bottom bounce here, right? 3 for 3 to the upside. So not the world's greatest 3 for 3 because it's an inside bar, right? Yeah, Mike, yeah, this AMD, right? It's high volume inside bar. So if the volume was actually telling us that strength that it's showing us, right? If it's actually giving us that oomph or that big momentum, why wasn't it able to make higher highs, right? If AMD was actually strong, why wasn't it able to push us above sort of the quote-unquote weak resistance it established there on Thursday? So this morning, right, I would like to see a consolidation breakout above that range. Ultimately, high volume consolidation tells me that both sides, there's like a tug of war here going on, right? Neither side has really given up, or neither side has really won. So if I'm going to trust a breakout, I need to see bigger volume than what I saw on Friday. And until I see that standard, it's going to be very challenging for me to say that bulls are back in control or that bears are back in control. Generally hate to see, right? It's kind of like my worst or least favorite candle here, right? Is that high volume consolidation candle, because it's kind of like an oxymoron, right, of consolidation. So we'd like to see that fuckery kind of resolve itself here to a certain extent. I couldn't find a better word than that, sorry. And if I can get a consistent story, that's going to start with making higher highs on volume that overcomes, right, that quote unquote consolidation. So and then we're looking 197, probably your breakout target here. And then you got space up towards 200, and then 203, and then like 211. So I'm gonna go 197, 199, 200, 201, 203, 205. Cool. Let's make sure, right, that this volume is just incredible though, right? I am not dealing with any indecision here or any narratives that are just like lackluster. It's got to be perfect, otherwise I am not interested, right? Does that make sense, guys? How like the high volume inside bar is kind of a false positive. Okay, 3 for 3, but again, right? Weak candle, increasing volume, lower low, lower high. So characteristics here of weak bullish momentum, even though we're seeing a technical sign of strength. Nvidia is just so expensive. I don't know if it's worth trading for me. I have a better setup on AMD. I'm going to focus on AMD. It's too expensive. Netflix, opening up middle of its candles range, or well, big candle, maybe opening in the middle third. This is one to watch versus trade. 2 out of 3 with volume to the downside, but I'm not interested. Okay, Google. Ooh, baby, almost hitting 150 here pre-market. This is a huge gap up. gapping up 3.5%. So it's not to say that Google wouldn't be able to keep ripping here, but for us to have conviction that we're going to get continuation, you need to see a pretty aggressive move. The thing that's kind of catching my eye here, or I'm getting stuck on, maybe is a better way of describing it, is I probably want to see bears fail first. So the size of this gap up, I think there's going to be an attempt to test it, right? That would be sort of my base expectation. Or, right, we get a mega vol breakout over 150, and then we can kind of say, screw your gap up, let's ride, right? So I either want to see like a red to green reversal, like an early morning red to green reversal, or I want to see like a mega volume breakout here over 150. Either one of those scenarios, I think, ultimately ends up being relatively tradable, but the size of that gap is just a little bit concerning. We have some evidence of big gap downs kind of sustaining, right? But not too much recent evidence of big gap ups really leading to too much here. Like it maybe has a little bit more enthusiasm a day or two later. So I want to see bears fail first, and then we can rock and roll here. Again, looks optimistic, but that 150 cycle level would definitely be a perceived area of resistance. Logical spot for bears to step in and try to break it down. So let's get a pop either above on volume or a red to green reversal towards 150 after I've seen bears fail. So big gap up doesn't mean that bulls aren't in control. It just maybe means that they're going to catch their breath here a little bit today, take their profits, right, lock in a little bit, and then become tradable a day or two later. Apple's got the same news story, right, but it's got a much smaller gap. So that could ultimately end up being a little bit more tradable for us from that perspective. And then if we are getting a general AI trend here today, right, AMD is again maybe giving us the most realistic, right, breakout target. So we have three setups that are all essentially playing off of the same news narrative here today, or the cousin of the same news narrative, right, or sort of same industry enthusiasm. And so if we could see, call it conviction across the board, right, with all three of those tickers, then I think that's where we can just kind of filter out and pick which one gives us the least amount of risk and the best risk reward setup. I think Apple's going to be the most likely because it's the tightest spreads in the smallest gap up relative, whereas AMD maybe acts a bit of a psychopath, and Google just a huge gap up. So we'll filter and see which one gives us whatever is best. But yeah, that 150 barrier is going to be important to me. Right, and it's a week 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume. So on Google, right, we need to overcome yesterday's or Friday's volume standard on a breakout over 150. Hey, Callum, how you doing? Okay, and then we're going buck along the way here from 150, right, towards that next point of contact, which is about 154. Okay. Okay. Every now and then, this trading view format, it drives me freaking insane, guys. Sorry. So yeah, Google, right? High vol breakout over 150 or a red to green reversal. Hey, Antonin, how you doing? Okay, VIX 14 spot 5.2 going down. Every time we hit this 15 handle, right, we seem to break down. Again, every time I see the VIX behave that way, I just feel like I'm getting reinforced that we need a personality shift before we see or like an event, right, to create that personality shift before we see a difference in the market trend. So we keep seeing rejections, right? We keep seeing high volatility environments get shut down, and it's sort of turning into grind mode again. So if we get that right, we want to find those rotation names, look for risk reward dip buys that are appropriate, and then see if we can take advantage of some of these opening range breakout strategies. But yeah, maybe FOMC can create that for us. I don't think this is going to be the one to do it, but ultimately it could be in play at some point. All right, so yeah, that's it, guys. Today's watch list, right? ES to the upside, Apple to the upside, Tesla, AMD, and Google. All higher here this morning, right? Those are going to be my priorities. We have a few minutes here till market open. So if you guys have any tickers that you're looking at, right, or any names that you want to go over, let's pop them in the chat here, and let's do a quick little rundown of those setups. Otherwise, let's get ready to absolutely crush this trading session here today. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, obviously fire them away. We'll do a quick little breakdown here too. For everyone who's listening in on Twitter Spaces, if there's any names that you're looking at here today, you want mapped out, or kind of want me to go through the counts on those, please drop a comment here down below in the Twitter space, and we'll make sure we do a quick rundown of that here prior to market opening. Any requests here, team? Any requests? All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go make myself a cup of coffee then prior to the trading session starting. I hope you guys absolutely crush it out there. Best of luck. Happy hunting. And we'll do another pre-market prep here starting tomorrow at 9 a.m. And I'll talk to you guys all then. Peace. All right, DTR members, like I said, I'm just going to make myself a quick cup of coffee, be back at it here right for market open, and let's see if we can get ourselves a big trading day here and absolutely crush it, right? For those of you who still want to practice, right, play around, set up your paper trader on TradingView, right? Set up all those techniques, start practicing consequence-free environment. If you're trading through Lark, if you're trading through Apex, if you're trading through My Funded Futures, you can use TradingView integration. So you have zero excuses as to not practice here this morning. Just because, we don't get a setup doesn't mean you can't learn or doesn't mean you can't improve. So be back at it here in a second. Get all those things set up for yourself so you're ready to crush it here today too. And we can solve, right, issues that don't require us to lose money. So we're back at it here, guys, in a second, and we'll do a rundown as the session is starting. Okay, so there's Apple popping right off the open, right? We want to also watch this opening range here get established on the ES. right? If we get enough volume here from Apple, then we're going to have some joy, but we need to make sure that that standard is impressive. Now, 2.5 minutes in, we're on a pretty good pace here, right? Or sorry, 30 seconds in, we're on a pretty good pace here. We're not rushing anything. I'm not forcing anything, right? I'm not doing anything stupid. Control the variables you can control, and it should all fall into place. Hey, Ruben, how's it going? Did everyone have an opportunity to work through or watch some of the documents or the videos I put out this weekend? Is there anything you guys feel like I should still put together? I'm going to put together a little video on how to execute and how to click buy and sell in TradingView. But I just need to wait till market opens to do that. So I'll do that this afternoon here at some point. Is there anything else that you guys feel like I am missing or you'd like a video on? If you just look into the trading docs file, Jay, they will be in there. Okay, Apple's not going to give us that risk reward, I don't think. Not early, at least. Okay, so we're going to wait on the 10 min here on Apple. Nice. All right, beautiful. So what are we waiting for here, team? What would be a signal for us? And how do we feel about this opening range? Realistic, unrealistic, volatile, not volatile? Yeah, beautiful, Dayon. Spot on. Probably not going to happen on the second candle, right? Takes a little bit longer usually. Wow, Google. Wow. So we'll watch this on the 10 min too. Apple and Google both on watch here. Hey, Greg, how you doing? So based on that video, right, that I posted, if we were to get a breakout here today, is today seeming more like a Bollinger Band target day or more like a double the opening range day? Like, is a 2R move or a 15-point move realistic as a profit target, or is that like way too ambitious? Nice, Mike. Love to hear that. You might be a little bit behind on the stream, Mike. Double check that. $15 points, I think is pretty chill. Like, that's reasonable. I'd say on like the 3-min, anything more than like 10 points would be like a opening range of like 10 points-ish would be a little bit concerning. You could say it's probably a little bit bigger than average though. Probably average is maybe in the 5-point range. I don't think there's like a really wrong answer here. Just like I guess the objective more than anything, right, is just having realistic expectations. Like on Friday, thinking that we were going to get 45 points of total range, right, from our entry. Not realistic. Like, that's pretty wild. Okay, so Apple still a minute here on this. Still no confirmation signals, right, on, I don't think I've seen it on any time frame yet on ES. What's base assumption here this week, guys? Right, unless proven otherwise. Okay, so we have an opportunity here on Apple. We need an entry around 175.34, right? Our P&L targets have not changed here. I'm going to say 175.30. Just made that higher high. Fuck. Not nice. So we'd like to see an increasing volume profile here at some point, right? Let's see. We have a chance on this one. 30 seconds to go. So for myself, guys, I think that my sweet spot here for stop loss is going to be kind of in that 3-point range. There's no confirmation here yet, right? No close above. No close above. But yeah, guys, three points, right? A contract means my P&L moves are $150, right? If I get stopped out at 3 points, feels pretty tight and realistic that I could get 3-yard returns pretty easy with that, right? It's like that's a realistic number. So the more and more I look, I feel like that's my sweet spot where I'm going to be comfortable. And then means, right, if you're risking, you're happy to trade, I don't know, 1,500 max loss number, whatever it might be, you can buy quite a bit there, right? You buy 10 contracts. So it's good sizing, right? It allows you to get pretty decent exposure. It's still no confirmation here anywhere of a tradable opportunity. So I'm on hands, right? Base expectation to a certain extent here is that we're a little bit tricky and a little bit choppy prior to FOMC. If we then do get that narrative, right, of a volume breakout, I think the expectation is it's going to be driven by the names that have news narratives, right? So the Apples of the world, the Googles of the world, right? Some of those scenarios. Google, great volume on this breakout, right? Very, very good volume, actually, all things considered. So maybe this 15-minute time frame would be an option here. Target would be 152. So again, right, we need a pretty decent pullback here. Draw your fibs from 152 down towards low of day. You need an entry right around that 149, probably a little bit lower than this, 149.24-ish. Not sure if that's super appropriate here. Okay, higher high immediately. It's the standard we need for an increasing volume breakout should not be that significant. All right, it doesn't seem too crazy. So Apple, higher highs again. Okay, at least on the bright side here, right? If we make higher highs on an increasing volume standard through this 5 min, we can reset our stop loss location and maybe have a slightly easier pullback standard for us to go after. So, okay, right? That gives us something at least. Someone, guys, the other day was asking or saying that their Fibonacci tool looks different than mine. Is that individual here in the stream? Yes, right. Yeah, still not holding up and over. Chop City. Well, that's cool. I don't think it was you, Dan. I think it was Abraham. I'm not sure if you're in here. But the reason it looks different is I just have a lot of settings unticked, right? So I just only use the 0, the 1, and the 236 fib level. And so that would be why. Apple, let's watch this close here. Realistically, then be targeting a move towards 178. Would like to see this candle shape up a little bit stronger though, right? I'm not too enthusiastic about compromised looking confirmations here, especially because the index isn't moving. I want to basically hedge myself emotionally against entering a trade that then also gets stuck. Because that's the worst feeling in the world, right? Okay, so I mean, look, this is a really tight stop loss. Here you can go 50-cent stop loss and be happy. So you need entry right around yesterday's low, right, to get that kind of range. Sorry, not yesterday's low, this 5-minute low. And of course, is that a higher high? I think so. Yeah. Buy a penny. They just want to chop us here. I know it's frustrating, but it's frustrating to not trade, but it's more frustrating to be in a trade that doesn't move than it is to have not placed a trade. Thought of this the other day, or was reading this in a book, not a trading book, but it felt very relatable. Essentially that like every action you take is not a decision. It's not like there's a good and bad outcome to every action, but it's like a unit of energy. So everything is just like, it can either add you positive energy, right? Or it can drain you emotionally and technically and all this kind of stuff. And so if you start looking at decisions from a energy drain perspective instead of from like an outcome perspective, then maybe you start working your way towards the more likely outcome, right? Because if I'm to think about today's trading, yeah, maybe you could have taken a risk on decision here a little bit more aggressively, maybe take something a little bit more compromised, but that's probably the bigger energy drain than just sitting on hands and waiting for that setup to occur. It's like you got to pick the lesser of two evils here almost. And just knowing, yeah, okay, when I take trades I know I'm not supposed to take, or I take trades that are against my rules or that are way too much risk, those energy stores, they get decimated. And I think the more I think in units that are non-P&L, the easier it is to not drain those energy stores. Sounds corny as heck, probably. I really think that's what it is. Yeah, see, this is even really gross on the 1 min. Still looking for that breakout scenario. I don't see anything that's telling me I should be looking for downside narratives, right? We keep drifting lower and lower here, but on a consistently decreasing volume profile. Not enough for me to want to be blindly bullish. I think that's a little bit aggressive, but it's like the path of resistance here doesn't seem like it's that significant. So if we could clear that barrier, it does not seem like there's much in the way here. Famous last words, probably, but let's see. Okay, so here's something for those of you, right, who do not have familiarity with the TradingView platform. Here's a good opportunity to practice, right, and execution. Now, this should only be a paper trade. This is not a trade call out. This is not something that I would personally take with real capital on the line. But here is a great opportunity for you to practice your technique and get comfortable with the TradingView execution platform, right? Place your stop loss at the high of one of these bearish candles, right? Could be 5, 22, 27, 25, could be 52, 28, whatever you want it to be, right? Set your entry target to be on a breakdown under this low. Play around with your position sizing, right? Buy more than one contract here and practice either scaling out or, right, closing everything once you're at a certain level. But this is your opportunity, right, to practice and test and to play around. Don't need to just sit on hands here and wait to get good at execution when you have a real setup. You can play around with those techniques, right? Could be now you want to go bullish. Okay, you set your stop loss low a day. You buy this trigger here. You scale out once you make a new high. But you can gamify this a little bit, right? You can do this fantastically. So this is your opportunity to practice and test. Doesn't have to be something that you don't have to figure out your execution stuff, right? When you put real money on the line, it could be figured out, right, prior to ever getting to that stage. Does that make sense, guys? Just playing around, right? You don't have to. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? So if I were to bring it up, bring it to Paper Trader. Click the trade button. Okay, so let's stop loss here again, right? This is just paper trading, guys, right? This is just to prove that you can actually execute these ideas, right? If I know how it works, I know how to set a stop loss, I know how to scale out, I feel confident exiting, I know the difference between a market order and a limit order, I see how much that impacts my price, right? Let's get good with those variables. So here, I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna go sell. Stop loss 52.27.25. Okay, so about 9 ticks from current price. If I scroll down here, I know that if I buy 3 contracts, I'm currently going to lose. There we go. All right, so if I buy 20 units, I'm going to lose $22.50. If I buy 10 units, right, 10 contracts, I'm going to lose $11.25. So that's a little bit more my steam. So let's see if I can get an execution. Entry price targeting 225. And there's the fill. All right. Yeah, guys, I'm not in this. This is just a paper trade, right? Show you guys how it works. Right, I can play around with these techniques. I don't have to sit on my hands and do nothing all day long here. Getting confident with your execution is simply just a repetitions thing, right? Getting quick at entering your trades, getting quick at exiting your trades, knowing how to set your stop loss, knowing where all the buttons is, just comes from repetition, right? So seeing me do it, it's going to make you feel confident that I can do it. But the goal is that you get confident that you can do it yourself and that you can actually manage your positioning the way that you're hoping for, right? So, okay, yeah, sweet. This would be a great trade if I was in it. So now, right, I got 10 contracts. Let's close one here. Let's see what happens, right? So I'm short, so I want to buy. Let's buy 2 units at, 223.50. Point and a half when I'm up a point and a half. Then, guys, I'm just stressing this is purely for educational purposes only. It's not a trade that I am taking in a personal account. This is a pure paper trade just to show how the execution works, right? Trading view is very simple. It's just buy and sell, the simplest of execution platforms. And it tells you, right, what your anticipated profit is and stop loss if you tick those elements, right? So there should be very limited reasons as to why you're unsure over how much you're going to lose or how much you're going to make if you take a trade. And the more that we can obsess over those variables, generally the better things go, right? So almost got a fill there. Hey, Drew, how you doing? Remember, guys, right? With your TradingView paper accounts, 100% consequence for you. You can reset that amount to be whatever you want. You can do whatever you like with it, right? It's completely up to you over how you deploy that. I'm a really big believer that it probably takes 100 reps to get comfortable, right, with an execution platform. Okay, here's where I set my stop loss. Here's where I set my profit target. I know how to go long. I know how to go short. I know how to scale out. I know how to do all those various techniques. So it just takes 100 reps, right? You can execute 100 trades in 20 minutes and just really practice, okay, set my stop loss this way, set my profit target this way, so that when a trade does come together, you know exactly what to do muscle memory wise. There's no rushed process. You don't feel anxiety over entering your details. Like those are variables you can control right now before ever entering a trade. So let's control those variables, right? Let's obsess over those techniques. I might get stopped out here in a sec. Because I don't have to feel that anxiety for the first time when I enter a trade, right? I can have confidence that I know what I'm doing technique-wise way before I ever enter something. And I would argue that it's, there we go, stopped out, right? I would argue that it's potentially negligent. Cancel this. Right? It's potentially negligent then, right? To be unaware or to not teach myself how to like use this platform when I have time to do so, right? So now let's do the opposite. Let's go 10 units long, stop loss, low of this range. I want to practice scaling out, right? So stop loss 222.50, 17 points away. So I don't want to lose a $2,000, so let's buy 5 contracts. All right, so you can see, right? Buy order place, sell limit order place for my stop loss. Now executed. Let's see if we can scale this out at some point. No, whoops, wrong button. Again, right? Just paper trading here. Everyone understand how to access the paper trader, guys? I want to make sure that everyone is execution-wise familiar with what we're supposed to be doing. All right, TradingView is a very, very powerful tool. Let's make sure we know how to access all those features. Right, market has not moved for us the way we wanted. I mean, we've expected this to a certain extent here today, right? Going into FOMC, maybe a little bit less range than I expected. But it doesn't mean we still can't practice, right? So again, I don't want you guys to be confident that I could do it. I want you to be confident that you can do it. The only way you build confidence, right, is to put in those reps. So now should be hopefully green on this. So let's trim some, right? So now I want to sell a little bit. We're up about a point. So let's sell at 229.50. Sell 1 unit. And boom, okay. See how it modifies my stop loss to now only be 4? All right, so it's nice. Okay, now I know that when I go to edit my trades, I don't have to manually adjust my stop loss. It just gets done for me, right? Sweet. Here my quantity now 4, right? I locked in a 1/5 of my position. And I just keep doing that, right? So now I've got 4 left. Unfortunately, doesn't show me how many positions I have. But I've got 4 units left. So let's sell another one here. Awesome, right? Again, modifies my stop loss order. Sells at my profit target. And I should now have only 3 contracts left, right? Boom. Go to history, see all your orders, and account history. Look, each P&L, right? $137 on one contract, $162 on the other. Life is good. So honestly, Greg, right? This is why we practice. So you figure it out, right? There should be really no excuse over why we don't know how this works when we have a consequence-free environment to practice in, right? Yeah, fair, right? That's the point. Figure out the way that you want to execute so that you have confidence knowing what you're doing and why, right? But if you're trying to execute on some confidence trigger that I'm in and that I jumped my entry or that Mike jumped his entry or that Greg got his entry, you're never going to be confident over why you're doing something or how you're doing something. And then that lack of confidence in your entry technique or why you made that decision compounds into a decision later on in your trade, right? So then you either ignore your stop loss or you rush your profit target or you scale out too early or you scale out too late or you let a green trade become a red trade, right? Like that mistake then happens somewhere else. So we need to have just like a basic level of confidence in our core execution techniques, because that makes it so much easier for us not to have to worry about that variable, right? If executing a trade is muscle memory and I know that I can do that process quickly and without really much hesitation, then it's easier for me to have conviction that I'm not going to make a mistake when I then have to make that decision, right? With a little bit of time pressure, right? A little bit of P&L pressure when something's on the line. So I'm trying to make it easier for myself for future Michael, right? It's really all it is. And if I get good at not making execution mistakes, much easier for me to kind of replicate and follow my back test, right? So again, let's go back. Positions, right? If I now click this X, it'll close the whole thing. If I want to do a partial close, let's close 1 unit. Done. So it's so many different tools here, guys, right, for how we can execute trades. And I need to keep stressing this, right? It is your responsibility to learn these techniques. I can't do that for you, right? I can't click buy and sell here for you. Can't tell you when to do that. It's not my objective. My goal here is to show you exactly what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. If I feel like I need to practice, right? And I feel like I need to improve it. I feel like I need to do XYZ. It's crazy to me that you wouldn't want to take on that responsibility yourself. Like I stress this all the time, right? But trading is inherently selfish because it is you who's responsible for you, right? No one else. I can give you the exact formula to be successful, show you every single one of my trades, but if you do not have conviction in your own ability to execute those ideas, then you will never replicate that same performance, right? Never. It'll be a borderline impossibility. So you got to get confident in those things, right? Because it just makes you money long term. 20, 30 minutes of work here. Okay, let's close another partial here. So up 8 points. Sweet, right? Great win. Boom. All out. So then I can go trade history. Right? You can see your P&L. Calculate it up, right? If you want to fill your trading journal, you could do something here if you wanted. So learn how to use these tools, right? They're awesome. They're super flexible. They give us so many advantages. And TradingView is the base standard here across the board for the industry these days, right? DX Trader is integrating now through TradingView. C Trader is doing it through TradingView, right? Apex, My Funded Futures, right? All these other companies are doing integration through TradingView. So you got to learn one platform in 20 minutes. And that's it. And guys, with your Apex accounts or with your My Funded Futures accounts or any TradingView integration, you don't have to set a stop loss, right? You don't have to set a profit target. It's not going to cancel your order here for you. It's not going to do any of those things. So you literally just have to get confident with your buy and sell buttons. Set up your hotkeys if you're a hotkeys trader. Just find your execution rhythm. Right? If things are choppy, it doesn't mean we can't do nothing. Is that fair? So would this possibly give us a breakout setup here on ES? What would we need to see? Right, no confirmations yet across the board in either direction or on any time frame. Yeah, spot on, Dayon. Spot on. We'll be maybe closer on the increasing volume. We'll see. But we're opening up from inside this range. If we do get confirmation, right, we would see an arrow appear under this candle. Without that arrow, there is no active setup. I'm very confident in that filter ability, essentially. So let's wait. Again, not super optimistic that today is going to be very tradable here. So increasing volume, right? But not a close outside that we're interested in. So still looking for an appropriate breakout here. So across our watch list here this morning, have we missed out on any looks here? Have we missed on any setups? Not super convinced we have. On a scale from 1 to a Boeing 737, how confident are you in your risk management? That's got to be the new scale we set ourselves to here. Still no increasing value, even on the 5 or 10 min. Not a single look. Guys, any questions here? Any questions? This is a choppy market. I am not forcing anything here. Maybe I have a little resolution here now, but not a resolution on a volume standard that I can fall in love with, right? None of these are occurring on increasing volume. So no indication that I have that building momentum, right? And if that's the narrative, I don't have an A+ look. Without an A+ look, I'm not going to waste my money. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much textbook. Pretty much no time in the red either. That's a good trade, Mike. 184.35. Yeah, it's pretty much spot on to where I would have it. Yeah. It's nice that this, like, well, this is it's a little bit simple, but like it's a basic idea, right, that works across asset classes. So I know people are interested in trading like crude, for example, right? That's awesome, Jay. Sounds like you played this bounce almost textbook. A little overreaction, sell-off. Yeah, beautiful. Like, I stress this always, guys, right? But ideas don't really change, right? Because markets are basically a reflection of people's fear and greed and psychology, right? It's not like, well, maybe this is a little bit of an oversimplification, but the sample size of people that are participating in markets kind of equalizes, right, how people psychologically behave. Like, it's the sample size is kind of consistent across the board, right? You see greedy people in one market, you see greedy people in another. And so if we can, like, that's why similar concepts, right, work across different asset classes and different strategies, and why fundamentally trading is a risk management game, right? It's the trader that can then manage their fear and greed better than their quote unquote competitors. That's the one that ultimately consistently outperforms the market, right? Because regardless of market conditions, those are the people that are able to sit and do what they essentially need to do to be profitable. So like the strategy that you deploy is kind of overrated, right? Like there's basics that need to be consistent. Like you need to have a basic edge, and you need to execute trades where your risk reward justifies your win rate. But if you can basically do those two things, then it's really more about just controlling your emotions so that you don't get in your own way. It's really what trading is more than anything. Because if you don't get in your own way, there's more than enough liquidity out there for us to be super happy with our trading. Let's put it that way. Like what some funds pay in commission a day, is life-changing money for you and me. So the efficiency of markets of making people rich is undefeated once you learn how to control yourself in a way that is unique to all the other market participants. Right? That's ultimately what this game is. It's why I'm so obsessive over it. Because I really, the times where I consistently am disappointed in my trading are usually times where I'm consistently disappointed in my psychology, right? There's something off there. Prevents me from executing relentlessly. Be really nice to get a breakout above these ranges today. Be really nice. Yeah, Mike, you're in great shape here, man. So hopefully you've like scaled out a little bit here at this point. But yeah, nice little opening range breakout setup here. Textbook look. Who knows what the difference between NQ and ES is besides being different indexes? So if you were to trade NQ, what's the how much does it move per point or per tick? Yeah, spot on. So if it moves $5 per tick, right? So if you have a stop loss that's 51.25 points, right? That's a slightly different. Oh yeah, she does. Right, so you got to make sure you understand the contract specifications before you trade this. Again, that's why that trading view tool can be so helpful, because it will tell you, right? Again, I'm just on the paper trader there. It will tell you how much you're going to lose. Right? So there should be very limited excuses over taking a hit that is less or more than you expect, right? You should always be able to get that information before you enter a trade. Always, always, always. And if you're rushing without that information, stop, right? Like please don't compound mistakes there. Does everyone see why Mike took this NQ opening range breakout setup? Does everyone understand the confirmation standard, the stop loss location, and the profit target? This is a really good example. Fair enough, Mike. Well, a win's a win. So what we have here, SSB, right? We have an opening range established by the first 3 main candle of the day, right? So we're looking for then a breakout or a breakdown under that range, right? On volume to give you then continuation higher. So you had a little bit of indecision here, a little bit of choppiness, and then this 10:06 candle broke out and held above the high of that opening 3 minutes on increasing volume. So you can place your stop loss at the low of your confirmation candle, your profit target at the 2R level, right? Or double the volatility of the opening range. And then you're looking for a 3-to-1 risk reward towards that zone. Nice, man. That's awesome, Mike. Congratulations. Turn in that big week on Friday, right? Hopefully into a big payday here on Monday. Love that. That's awesome. SSB, did you have a chance to look at the strategy video I put together this weekend? I'll have a really a couple examples of a winning trade and a couple examples of some losing trades. So you might find that very useful to look through. And then if you use the loom, let's see. Right, so if you look at the loom here, there'll be a transcript on the right hand side that you can click that'll break down everything in even more detail. So this like video plus transcript combo, I think will give you a really high conviction understanding over what this technique is. And then obviously once you see it a couple times and you know what you're looking for and know how to use the indicator, I think that's gonna create that conviction that you're hoping for. Does that make sense? No, my pleasure, man. What I'm trying to do here is, and this is for everyone, guys, right? If you have requests, right? Something where you feel like I am plugging or missing some knowledge or like a knowledge gap, right? That's somewhere in between. Let me know so I can make a video and highlight these things, because to a certain extent, I am like I kind of live in my own fishbowl. I don't always, or I always assume that I explain things probably better than I do, and so I want to avoid, those like knowledge gaps. So if you guys let me know what's missing or what you'd like to see, then I can make that content and kind of continue beefing up everyone's collective knowledge. But just to keep going back on this, guys, I want to make sure, right, that the level of familiarity is where it needs to be. Do you guys understand, it's like a general, about how we're translating other DTR concepts to these ideas, right? So how we're looking at candlesticks, how we're looking at volume, and then obviously how we're using the fibs to find our entries. Does that all make sense to you guys? Or does that translation make sense? Oh, hi, Ricky. Okay, there goes Tesla. 172 breakout. We need big vol here, right? It's got to be on increasing volume. We have a chance. Okay. Awesome, Craig. Awesome. Yeah, guys, like, honestly, those kind of videos I like doing. I like talking about trading. I like talking about the market. They're very much inside my comfort zone of things to do. They're much easier for me to do than like a talking head video. But so if there's like stuff like that, right? I have not yet, Mike. It's driving me freaking crazy. I kind of planned on doing it yesterday, but brunch got a little bit carried away, to be honest. So I didn't I didn't do it. So I'll try to do it this week, but it looks awesome. Yeah, well, we'll see if I can make it work at some point, but yeah, I can't seem to get the Apex trade copier to show up in NinjaTrader. Seem to be having some sort of issue there, so yeah, we'll see. But I'd like to get it set up, because then kind of what you're doing, you're setting up with like I think you posted like the various accounts, right? Kind of seems like the best ratio is to buy those 50 to 100K accounts, buy like 20 of them, buy, I don't know, 4 or 5 contracts each one, and scale out a quarter or a 50th. Was it the one on their website? I didn't find anything third party. Honestly, I probably just gotta just run my computer in administrator mode and just get it done. Because I think, yeah, like you buy 50, or not, probably not 50, but you buy 10 of those. Yeah. You buy 10 50K accounts, you're going to have, appreciate that, Mike. If you put that in the Discord, I'm sure people would love you for that. $15 has a chance here. Yeah, you can almost like, you have a set stop loss for all of them, but then you close out, right, each multiple accounts. If you buy like 5 accounts, instead of scaling out like 1 unit at a time, you'd close 1 account at a time at each target. So there's like a flatten button, right, inside the trade copier. So you just flatten 1 position at each of your R targets. Yeah, don't skip ahead too much your day on. Like once we figure it out and we make it all work, we'll get it all sorted out. Also, we don't need to try to copy it if we don't even have access to one. So, yeah, again, you're doing the right thing. But I think that's where it becomes really fun, right? When you get those copiers working, because having 10x the amount of, say, P&L upside with 10 accounts, but your trading view P&L is only showing you 1/10 of your P&L. I think that gamifies scaling up a lot easier. It makes you not think about the number as much. So I like that. I like that a lot. Sorry, Elon Musk making me laugh. He's come out and said that ketamine prescription is in investors' best interests. Someone had a good St. Paddy's Day. So still waiting for Jay, I'm sure you remember from your time in the bank, right? But there's very many analysts that are analysts for a reason. Yeah, SSB. I do trade through TradingView. So what I do is you just get a login. So my paper trader is logged in on this one for some reason. But if you go in here, you log out of the paper trading, there'll be a Trade08 broker. So down here, right? Click that, and then I've got a concurrent one opened up here on my other screen. But at that point, you'll just then type in your Apex login details. It'll give you a Trade08 login, and then you're fully connected. So it's very, very simple. Just instead of using your login for Trade08, you just do the Trade08 login through the trading panel. When you sign up through Apex or through My Funded Futures or whatever, they honestly walk you through it super, super easily. It takes you just a second. Again, you don't have to execute through TradingView. You don't have to do that, but I like it. I think it's convenient and easy, so works for me. No. I'm sure you could trade futures through it, SSB, but through the funded, yeah, you'll be doing it through Trade08 or Ninja Trader. Hey, nice work, Mike. You crushed it today, man. Really awesome to see. glad you got payout eligible. So I want to see some of those big numbers here come up next couple days too, man. That's awesome. It's great to see members getting paid. Like, that's the goal, right? So love to see it, dude. Love to see it. All right, Mike. I appreciate that, dude. But no need, man. I do well enough. Sounds good, Jason. Yeah, probably pretty quiet here prior to FOMC anyway. But good to see you, man. Hopefully you're doing well. And like always, right? If you have any questions, you want to look into some futures or anything like that, send me a message, man. We'll set you up. Yeah, guys, any questions in general here? I'm not going to be forcing any trades into this kind of dead period here now, right? We're 8 minutes from kind of exiting my kill zone, and it's not been a high volatility morning, where maybe my best opportunity now is going to be potentially afternoon into that sort of power hour time frame. I'm going to do the same thing like I've done in the last few days or so here, right? Where I'm just going to be, if something sets up, messaging about it in the members chat on the Discord, and we'll see if something kind of comes together then. But again, not a huge expectation of being very busy prior to FOMC. It's very challenging for me to get a trend before the first big data drop of the week. So let's see if that can happen. But besides that, not too much for me to do. Otherwise, guys, hope you have yourselves a fantastic rest of the afternoon. Like I said, no reason for me to trade. So I'm going to get ready, take the dog out for a quick little pee here, and then jump on and do a few one-on-one calls with you guys here today. But besides that, guys, same deal like always. If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. But honestly, guys, congratulations on a few of you who got funded here last week, a few of you who became payout eligible here today, and love to see those big numbers coming in. So really, really fun. Let's be patient, cautious, right? Focus on the variables we can't control until then, and then we'll keep seeing big results for everyone inside the room. So nothing to force here, nothing to trade. Not really too close on anything, but kind of the base expectation. So see you guys tomorrow, and we'll catch up then. Peace.